Hi guys, Matt McGuire with the Way Forward Training, here to talk about Defensive Performance Handgun. We'll be here at BTO at this range May 3rd and 4th to teach that class. I really hope to see you guys out there, so let's get started. So the Defensive Performance Handgun class for me became a reality when I realized that there's a lot of training out there that focuses on defensive role or focuses on performance role, but there's not a lot of blending of the two. It's very easy to specifically itemize one individual skill set in that portion, but how to blend them together and what the meaning of performance-based shooting gives us in a defensive role. So for me, the performance-based drills, that gives us a metric, gives us a way to measure, a way to process, and a way to see what efficiency looks like when we're shooting through a target array or shooting through a stage. We can take that methodology, whether it's target blending, movement, efficiency, and apply that to our defensive shooting skill set, because it's only gonna make you a better shooter. So in that regard, I have a bunch of different drills that are performance-based, but we're gonna talk about them from a defensive role. How do these defensive skills apply from a performance mindset, right? So if we take a performance mindset, apply it to our defensive skill set, now we can apply the efficiency of our vision, our trigger control, all of the skills that we learn in these match type drills and performance-based shooting drills. And now we have a better understanding of what it means to be honest to our sights, honest to our trigger, use the right confirmation for the right target, and we're processing at a higher level. That's the important skill to learn, is how to process information and remove your ego and involvement, active involvement mentally from your shooting process. So once we can do that, we take those skills, go out into the world, we're more confident, we're more capable, we're more responsible in the way that we apply that skill set in a defensive role. And that's the whole point for me. Being more responsible, being capable, and being competent, because your capability based in competence is much more important than one based in ignorance of your skill set. So let's make you competent, let's make you capable, let's make you a more responsible citizen. So let's get out there and train, man. Let's see what we can do. So this first mechanism I like to teach is a set of 3 targets. Very simple drill, basically 3 rounds on each target. We start from the draw, present to the first target, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now what's the focus? We gotta look at how we break down and get back time in our shooting. So let's just say, for sake of argument, I have a 120 draw, 1.2 second draw to this first target. I get 25 splits for 3 shots. Transition to the next target in about 65, right? 0.65 seconds to the next target, 25, 25, 0.65, 25, 25. Should land me somewhere around 4 seconds. Not a bad pace to shoot, as long as we're being urgent with the gun where we can be, and conservative and controlled and careful in our shooting, we should be okay. So let's see what that looks like. All right. My timer is gonna be a little weird here in the indoor range, but we'll work with what we got. All right, so. Right at 389, I'm about a 10th off. First shot was a 126, so I'm a little bit over on that. I think I got a little too urgent with my splits. No, not too bad, 30s, right there. So overall, we are a 389, right? Now, how can we buy back time? You can see right here, we pasted everything outside the A zone, so my shots are all in. How do I buy back time? If I wanna really try and push the pace, all I can do is push splits, right? I just split it faster. So instead of a 20 or a 15 or 25 split, I'm gonna push down to try to be a 15. The problem is now my transitions are gonna remain the same. So I'm gonna try to shoot 15 splits, but keep a 60, 50 transition somewhere in there and see what that buys us back. I should be closer to about 3.4. Got 1 Charlie on the center target and 1 on the right. So close Charlies, a little bit of over transition on each one, trying to split faster. Oh, I had 1 high, see? Suffering in the shooting, because trying to split that fast and transition lands me quite a bit better. Target timer's not reading all my shots because they're too close together in the echo, but much faster splits, you can see. But my transitions didn't really change that much. The issue is, you can see my shooting suffers. If I try to split that fast, we end up with shooting process that suffers because I can't see as carefully at that pace. Now, instead of a 120 draw, if I take off a 120 draw and I go to a 90, in the low 90s, mid 90 draw, 0.9 seconds, and then I cut my transitions from 50 or 65 down to 35, I'm just moving the gun more urgently, but I shoot 25 splits, that should give me back almost a second. So 0.9-ish, all right, depending on our pace. Now, I can shoot more carefully, but I'm being more urgent in everything else that's not the shooting. So we'll see what that looks like. Again, not reading all my times, but as you can see, again, if I come down right here, this was from my 15 split run, 15 split run, somewhere in that range. I say 15, whatever it was. But you can see these were my outs from that. But all of the rest of my shooting now is much more careful because I'm just moving the gun more urgently to the next target. But I'm still shooting relatively careful at 25, 21, 23, 23, all the ones that are recorded right there. I'm just transferring the gun more urgently. So instead of bop, 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 land the gun, bop, 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 land the gun, bop, 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 now I'm just giving it bang, 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 bang. So it's a difference in processing pace and how we view what's important. So that's really this idea of this drill, is how do we break down where we buy back time? Is it in transitions, or are we just trying to split faster? So guys, the next drill I want to talk about is a retreating headshot build drill. So I took this, really the concept from Point One Tactics, Donovan Moore. The idea of his retreating build drill and his elite standards is to back from 3 to 6 yards, moving away from the target, a sub 2 second build drill to the body. What I felt was we could use that tool in a performance-based mindset and start shrinking the accuracy zone down, so that when we're seeing, we're having to be more honest with our vision. Because if we land the gun here at 3 yards, we can really just index, settle in the middle of the target and start cracking shots. But here requires us that much smaller accuracy zone, a 4x4 inch box in the head, to back away from that target, being conscious of our vision, being much more honest to what we're seeing in the dot and the motion, whether it's a floating streak of a dot or we're getting that paintbrush, small lowercase I. Whatever that visual index is that we're getting, that information needs to be very honest, because otherwise you're not gonna land all those shots. So in order to do that, I shoot a different set of paces for this. I'm gonna back away from the target, drawing being more urgent, all that stuff's gonna stay the same, but then landing that dot a little more carefully and starting my press as I retreat. What I wanna see is how far can I push this and still remain clean on that target. This is an exploration, it's all performance. This is not a scenario-based drill. I'm just using the tools of motion and precise visual box indication to, is it time to shoot, is it time to shoot? Those are the things I wanna take with this. This is not a scenario-based drill. So we're using that for that tool. So let's see what it looks like. So I'm gonna step off here, 1, 2, 3, about 3 yards, 9 feet or so. From that start point, I'm gonna buzz the timer, draw the gun, and start my retreat. So we'll roll backwards out of it. All right. .260 right there, very careful, just land. First shot was a 1, 2, 3, 260 overall, some 26 splits in there. Very careful. I had some real close line breaks there as I'm rolling, as I dropped my position. I saw the dot start to float a little bit differently, so I had to adjust. And you see this indication of a first high, then low, bouncing around as I'm rolling out at the target. The rest of my shots right here, landing right in the middle of the A zone, you can see right there. Oh, now the difference here is, what if I need to push the pace? What if I need to be a little more urgent? How do I do that? Is it draw time, all of that, and then still being more careful? Then if that's the answer, let's find out. Let's see where I can go with it. All right. It only recorded a few of those. The last one it recorded is a 145, obviously a much faster pace, but we're seeing those all landing. So What is it that I'm seeing? Honesty to my sights is seeing the dot land static before I even start, but I'm not wasting time. As soon as I see the dot where I want it indexed in at the center of that box, I start my press. What I'm not doing is what a typical problem I had when I first started was seeing the dot streak like this across that zone and just kind of centering the dot in that area, just letting good enough be good enough and start pressing the trigger. With this, it's much more difficult because the dot has to leave off the target and return, because where that round is impacting is actually the bottom of that streak. It's not in the middle. So I need that stop, return, leave, stop, return, leave, bang, bang, bang. And as we increase the pace, it becomes much more violent, and I have to really focus to control that. All in the grip, all in my trigger press, and being honest with my vision. That is a level of automation that requires. So let's do an exploration run. Let's see exactly how far we can take this. I don't know if it's gonna record it, but we'll find out. You could probably math it out on the camera if you really wanna be that big a nerd on the internet. This is just going for broke, full Ricky Bobby. If we miss, if we take Charlie's, let's allow ourselves that room to fail. First shot was a 96. All in there. I think I could do that a little bit faster. We'll try one more time. See if I can be a little more urgent, even though the timer's probably not gonna pick it up unless I get it away from my body here. Let's see, I will set it down on the ground and we'll see where it goes. Oh, I dropped one low. Started a little further back, still only reading a 157. Had one low there in the Charlie. That's about as far as I can push it. Let's see. Yeah, it's not reading all my shots correctly, but that's all right. You guys can see the baseline of this drill, where we start to be falling apart. Is it in our pace and urgency of our trigger? Is it in our draw? Where are we losing time? Where are we gaining time? And how are we being honest to our sights? All right, guys, so this next little mechanism I like to shoot is a accuracy and honesty drill, but we're not removing a time metric. This is not a shoot 6, 8, 10 rounds, whatever, to a small dot, purely focus on accuracy. We have to urgently crush the draw, land to that 2-inch dot, and press our shots. The point is to land 2 shots from 10 yards. So let's see how we do. .248, a little wonky on the draw, kind of got my finger caught up. But if you look down range, our accuracy did not suffer. Our first shot could have been way better, but we're a 186 on the first, landed to that 2-inch dot down there. All right, we'll try that one more time and see if we can be a little more urgent. Being super careful, super honest to our sights, but let's get the draw burned in. Ooh, just one high left over the top, 205. We're about a little over 1 inch from the edge of that 2-inch circle there. And we'll try one more time. Same draw. Nope. Same draw, a little wonky. 177 first, 241 overall. There we go. That's what I wanted. 199. These are the first couple runs there. I had that 1-inch one that I called and then a low on that second. That one right there was a 199 for 2 shots, 142 first for a 2-inch circle at 10 yards. What that gives me is the urgency to crush the draw, but the patience to land to a very small spot, being honest in my vision, landing and press, landing and press. So it's a confirmation of the right trigger process and the right sight confirmation to land to the target that I need and be honest to it. That is the hardest thing to do in shooting, because we have to be urgent in all of this non-shooting mechanism, but then super careful, right? That doesn't mean slow, but careful to our sight package. Then we start learning how to see, is the dot landing where I want it, or sights landing where I want them, leaving from that same place, returning back immediately, given my grip mechanism allowing that to do that, return the gun back, right? Let it land, press the shot again. We're not wasting time in between, we're being more efficient across that whole process. Instead of laying them out end to end, we're compressing actions to simpler mechanisms and building a matrix that I can land the gun, press, and now I don't have to think about it. That's what performance-based shooting gives us. If we don't think that's valuable to our defensive process, then we're backwards. We really are. It's not about being competitive in the realm of going out and shooting matches. That is an awesome way to do this, but what we want is the skill. We want this hard mechanical skill to be able to land the shots where they need to be as urgently as possible and not waste time, because that is always going to be more beneficial to us in our shooting process, whether it's competitive, whether it's defensive, because the gun doesn't care whether it's cardboard or a person trying to kill us. The mechanics of landing shots where we want them doesn't change. So let's get back to the fundamentals. Let's get back to the foundation of vision, trigger, sights, grip, and really push the pace and explore where we can go. If we're not being honest about what it is we are doing. We're not being competitive with the target. We're not being competitive with the guy trying to kill us. We're being competitive with ourselves, right? The competition is how much better can I be than myself yesterday? That's what we want. And to score that, give us metrics for that, this performance-based shooting is the only way that I know. There may be others, but they're all basically quantified in feelings. And I don't want that. I want scores that I can look at the holes. I can say, okay, given this time, this is what I did the last time. This is what I'm doing this time. So let's use those metrics to the best benefit possible. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here with me on the range. I can't wait to see you in classes. We'll see you out there, guys.